tired, you think they mean they haven't slept. But what they mean is, I'm exhausted. No, you think no, why we don't think of it like that. No, I'm a football, I've been happy. That's what I mean. I just assume people do it. I don't assume anything when people tell me how they are.
Some people find it invigorating, like going on the road, talking about their work. Okay, alright. No!
It's true.
Some people that are like...
No, some people are, they just like, they are, like, I love getting out there, meeting the people.
No, I do. I remember after 5 days of doing that when you haven't really slept, and I don't sleep well in the I don't sleep well in strange places, and I'm pleasant. I left Seattle at 4:30 this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm not at all suggesting that I don't like to feel my fun, because I actually do.
Yeah.
But no. But it's a good problem to have, so.
Sometimes I think the phrase "good problem" robs us of our ability to
So you shall survive.
Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes people will say it to you almost like you're not allowed to feel something because of the position you're in relative to another position.
They have to be grateful for the problem.
Yeah. People are like, but these are good problems. They're like, no, it's just a problem.
This thing sucks.
I don't think it needs to be a good one.
She's trading right now. With Delta, it's that simple. Take an instrument. We'll show you what's trending. Open a trade using smart insights and enjoy your day. Your trade will auto-close when it hits its target. Ready to start? Get a 50% deposit bonus and trade with Delta.
It's always like what I call the +1 purchase in a pharmacy. No one will go in and just buy it. No one. People are always like, get a bunch of shampoo, orange juice.
That kind of thing. You know, throw some other
No,
stuff.
you throw everything else in, and you're just like, I don't know. And then one of the doesn't scan. It doesn't like, that code doesn't work. This is what now? Trevor Noah.
You know what, the more kids you have, the harder the pregnancies become. Because if you've got pregnant now, you have to go up to
Well, now I'm 57 pregnant, it'd be hard for that.
Is that real though? Are you sure that you're 58? No, I ask you this because like some people don't know, like maybe you don't, like are you sure?
These are your biological set on sports.
That's your biological age.
Well, my black age is 40.
That means there you go.
I see that. That's my black age.
That's what I mean. I don't think some people age the same way calendars work.
Yeah.
And I think you're one of those people. Yeah. If we had to repopulate another planet, I would pick Halle Berry as one of the people. Because I'll go like
Helen and Troy, basically.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's so good to have you here, by the way. Thank you so much for joining us. Can I tell you, I don't think I've had more fun researching somebody than researching you before this conversation. Because half of the things that I found seem like conspiracy theories, but they're true. Because you type Halle Berry, and then all of a sudden, like, the first thing that popped up was Halle Berry intimacy chart. And I was like, oh, wait, no, this is, and I thought it was my search engine. I was like, no, sorry, wait, this is, Halle Berry, I was like, what is she doing? And then it was like, Halle Berry, herpes, and I was like, whoa, no. I was like, what is happening to my algorithm? And then when I read through everything, I was like, oh wow, Halle Berry is doing everything right now.
Is she?
I mean, you told me, like, it feels like, in the same way that menopause is a moment of transformation for women, it feels like you are in a menopause of life and you're turning something that people would commonly think of as the end into a new beginning.
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I am approaching my second act, and I couldn't be more excited. You know, when you find that they're there, and you connect to what you know is a greater purpose. We always ask ourselves when we're here, but what is my why? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? I figured out what that is. And there's joy, and there's peace, and there's comfort, and there's confidence in that, right? And so that's where I'm at.
And what is that? If you were to school purpose now, What is it for Halle Berry?
It is to be a voice for women in midlife, a time of life that we have been so forgotten and so underserved and underappreciated. And I realize that I have been chosen to be a voice, not the voice, but a voice, a loud voice in this space to talk about what it looks like to be in our second half, what it looks like to be in midlife, what does longevity really look like for women, right? Because we're living longer, but we've been working on it. Why is it? Right? And why can't we redefine ourselves? And we are here for more than we making. That's a wonderful, glorious thing that we do, but we're here for so much more than that. But the world has told us after we do that, we're done. I'm here to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. And how are we going to live this thing out in our best life?
So, Halle, I'm so curious. This is something me and my friends talk about a lot, that, like, all of our mothers went through menopause, but they've never discussed it with us, right?
So what never said anything to you? Is this like an African mother thing?
No, just all of it.
Oh, wow.
All my girlfriends, black, white, we're always like, we're like, perimenopause. Like, we have lots of questions, because we're like, a lot of us are going into perimenopause now, right? And it's like...
Wait, for those who don't know, what is...
Perimenopause is a period before menopause, which is chaotic and very difficult for women, and you have like memory loss and anxiety.
And I think peri is the worst. Once you get into menopause, you're kind of on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Peri is where it's the hardest. I'm still in peri too, and I'm like, I got 3 more months and I'm going to be in menopause. If I don't menstruate, and man, I'm going to be so happy in that menopause.
Like, most women don't actually know what perimenopause is, right? So it's debilitating. And me and my friends of all backgrounds talk about the fact that
너 프로한 일 많이 해볼게요. Ini sudah peri nih.
Work man, no?
Came to it.
Like, you're very plain menopause.
From my perspective and from our friends, it's just something that's shrouded in shame. Like, it's a conversation we still haven't even had with our own mothers.
Yeah.
And you're like out here,
Yeah.
being publicly claiming it.
Well, I, like you, didn't know what perimenopause was. Nobody talked to me either. But I did have this feeling that I was going to skip it. I thought I got myself off insulin at an early age. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I got off insulin. I got off oral medication, and I found a way with food and using, food as medicine to get off insulin. And I thought, whatever this perimenopause thing is that happens to women around this time, I'm going to skip it. Because look what I did with the diabetes diagnosis.
Yeah.
I'm just going to skip this whole shit. Well, no, I didn't skip that whole shit. I realized that I was in it, and Trevor's heard this, I'm not going to go into some details because I
No, you should. No, you should. Because I individually have heard, but like I think it's important for everyone to
No, not everyone's heard it, and it's important.
No, I really think it's very important to hear it, genuinely. Because okay, I'll tell you, before you even tell it, I'll tell you why I think this is important. So, I love what you said about being chosen. My mother always says, sometimes you're not chosen because somebody chooses you. You're chosen because you are the best person in the best position to do something about something. And that's sometimes what being chosen means.
Yes.
And I think, in a weird way, I feel like in this moment in your life, everything that was put on you, some of the good and some of it even as a burden, has almost become like the chariot that you're going to ride into this thing on. Does that make sense? And so I think this story is very important because nobody is brave enough to tell it, and not many people are interesting enough to tell it. To be honest with you, and no, I think that's important because I heard this like with a few
Oh
guys.
ja, jag ser ni. Men bro, jag ser ni serviet si kau. Zoek paper towels ay nakareho ko.
In a way that it affects you.
Direct sila ba iman ni serviet si paper towels kay Tema sa lang roll. Ay di kong baiset. Paper towel. Go. Je kan er ergens het brood kopen, jong, modder en yoghurt.
Right? I'm encouraged to believe when something's not right. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So I'm not ashamed of that. But I have been divorced 3 times. I finally meet what I thought, and I now know to be my person. And we are firing on all cylinders. We're getting along. We're having the most amazing sex. I didn't even think it was possible to have something so great at this time in life. I really didn't. After 3 divorces, I kind of thought, I'm kind of done. And I'm cool with that. But I meet this person, and we're just having the best time. all of a sudden, a year into our relationship, we have a great night of sex. I wake up in the morning and I do what we always do. I go to the bathroom. Well, I think I'm going to go to the bathroom. I sit down on the toilet. I cannot go to the bathroom. My body just sort of seizes up and I can't go. And I start to let a little bit out. And it's the most excruciating pain I have ever felt. Besides having the cornea scratched, there's nothing more painful.
And you've given birth without drugs, by
Yes,
the way.
my second baby. So it's more painful than that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh my God. And it takes me literally probably 10 minutes to just empty my bladder because I can't let it out. So I get off the toilet and I go to my guy and I said, look, I gotta go to the doctor. Like, something has happened to me and I don't know what it is. And I couldn't even put my legs together. But whatever happened in the night after that sex was bad. So we jump in the car, he drives me to see my doctor. I get in there and the doctor's, got me on the table, he's looking at me and he says, wow, you got a new guy in your life? I said, I do. And I was like, it's amazing. And he said, oh. He said, well, I think I know what this is. Actually, I know what this is. I've seen this before. And I said, what? He said, it's a really bad case of herpes. A really bad case. And I'm like, herpes? I mean, I'm not knocking anyone that has herpes, but I was like, herpes? I'm like, what? Well, how do you know that? He goes, I've seen this before. This is a really bad case of herpes. Now, all these things are going through my mind. Like, the love of my life, this great man, this great sex, now he gave me herpes? And oh, wow, he could have told me he had herpes. Like, I thought he should have. He could have. Like, why didn't he? Going through all this stuff. And he goes, I'm going to do the test. In 3 days, you'll get the results back. But I'm sure, I'm pretty sure this is herpes. So now I go down in the car. He's in the car with me. I see him, I open the door, and I'm angry, and I'm sad that he didn't tell me, and I'm also mad, and I'm like,
Parang kecil.
Ay, ba't ka diyak
you got herpes? He's like, what? I'm like, you have herpes. He's like, I don't have herpes. I said, clearly you have herpes, because I have herpes. And I didn't have herpes before I knew you, and now I have herpes, so you clearly gave me herpes. He's like, no, I swear I didn't. I don't think I have herpes. I said, I don't have it. I said, well, let me be the first to tell you. You got herpes. But I got herpes. I didn't have it before you. So we're driving home in this argument, like, who has herpes? And we're arguing about what?
Awkward car ride ever.
Awkward, right? So we get home and I say to him, look, you're going to have to go to the doctors and you're going to have to get a test too. And you're going to find out and you have herpes. Because now we both have herpes and you gave it to me. So he's okay, I'm going to the doctor. I don't feel like I have any herpes. So he goes to the doctor. We have 72 hours of just blaming each other and not knowing what to do. He gets his test back first. Comes to me, just bolts out. Like I said, I don't have herpes. Upright. You have the herpes. And oh my God. I said, okay, I guess I have the herpes. I said, I'm sorry, I'm getting the herpes. Like I didn't know. I'm sorry. A few hours later, my doctor calls me. Before he even says anything, I'm ready to say, okay, yeah, I already know I got the herpes. He said, you don't have herpes. I'm like, I don't? I'm like, I don't have herpes, really? He said, no, you don't. I said, well, why would you say that? He said, well, that's what it looks like, but I don't know how to explain this, but no, you do not have herpes. I'm like, well, what is it then?
Didn't know.
He didn't know. I said, I don't know. I don't know.
And it's just like the primary care doctor had no idea.
And this was the defining moment that set me on this journey. What I went through with my guy for 72 hours, finding out this news the way we did, like nobody could tell me, well, why had this happened to me and what was wrong with me. And that set me on my own journey of investigation, constant reading. And I came to, after about 2 or 3 weeks of my own individual investigation, that what was happening to me was a symptom that many women suffer from perimenopausal years. Now I'm 54. One of my doctors should have already talked to me about being in perimenopause. Right? Nobody, and I've got like 6 doctors. Not one of them had a conversation when I'm 54 years old about perimenopause.
I'm not telling you how to prepare for it.
I thought it was even coming. I thought I was going to skip it because you were going to talk to me about something that wasn't going to happen today.
You hear these stories happening to people, like in all of medicine. Like, so I think, sometimes I think medicine is hard, we acknowledge that. There are many things doctors don't know. A lot of things that doctors can't figure out. And a good doctor will tell you that. They're like, hey, we try our best, but there's oftentimes we don't know. but it's crazy how much more they don't know about women's issues.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Studies and we only were allowed to be a part of clinical studies in 1993.
93.
1993
Oh, wow.
was when they started doing
I didn't know what that
But the
is.
thing is, they know our period cease at a point. Like, I would accept that, like,
Yeah.
as a reason, yes, we don't know, but this is not unknowable. We know that women, at a certain point, if you live long enough, you'll probably stop menstruating.
Right.
And the period before that can be difficult. Well, doctors should know that, I guess.
But they tend to look around you old. No one says, hey, just so you know, you get into, like for instance, okay, so when I turned 40, without fail, my doctor was like, how old are you? 40. Even when I was like 38, they're like, 38? They're like, soon you're going to need to go and get your prostate checked.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And they're like, you're going to go and do the thing to your bum. And I was like, okay. But every shop I would go to, people were like, throw it up. They're like, throw it up, throw it up, throw it up. Even like the dentist, he was like, oh, happy birthday, prostate time. I'm like, okay. So I just knew, genuinely, I just knew at 40, prostate is now a thing that gets checked. And you're telling me that.
Wouldn't it be great if doctors told us at 40, okay, perimenopause time, let me tell you what you gotta do.
That's great.
Wouldn't
Yo,
that be great?
ik vrees zo
Because we
heilig,
know
man.
what the truth is.
Prostate.
Only
Prostaatkanker.
13%
Check,
of
die
us
check. Heel check hulle. Ja, daar go. Oh, hulle vinger in die is. Hey bro, ik is zo bang bij heilig te check.
Not his fault. On an institutional level, we have not been made important on any level. So it's not their fault. It's only going to become their fault as this conversation gets louder and louder. And the doctors don't go back and get retooled. Then I will start blaming them. Because when you know better, you do better. Now, doctors are really starting to understand what
Deze heeft hem
and menopause.
aan de braak de operatie van.
Nobody ever thought this
Ik
was
blijf in Germany.
It was like, just deal with it. It's just old age. It's just,
Wat ja, met die storen. Kom maar
it's
dit
a
doen.
real thing. And it affects more than our just our living.
Hij zei als een guy geweest was, zijn prostaat het check het.
It makes us that
Dokter het ingegaan was zo,
it
zijn
affects
vinger.
our brain, our heart,
Tegen
our
toe
liver, our skin,
ejaculate.
our bones, our hair,
Kom
our
toe.
mood.
Zie je.
Everything about us becomes
En hij maakt je dokter dood.
Yes.
Kijk je, hij check in zijn mind, hij is gay.
That hormone
En hoe kom ik?
that makes us who we are on a cellular level.
Maar die man zijn G-spot
In some way.
zit in zijn anus.
We're just gonna die slowly. And it's a tragic death because we lose our faculties to think and remember early on.
Hij maakt je dokter zat.
Our bones get so like wow.
Ja,
Or women have heart disease and heart
dat vibratie het nog hoor.
than men do, right? So
Ejaculate.
it's not just we get what I know I have now is vaginal atrophy. It's not just that. You know, that I've learned how to fix. I'm good now. But how do we fix our heart disease? How do we fix our brain? How do we stay virile and active and be able to walk and take care of ourselves? How do we do that without this very thing that makes us us? That's what we have to start studying.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. I'll tell you why I love these conversations because, like, so, like I've told you something, like, so I grew up with my mom, like a single mom for most of our lives, right? And for various reasons, apartheid being one, but like just like a single mom. But my mom, like I don't realize, I didn't realize how blessed I was because she shares everything with me. So when she was going through menopause, she was like telling me stuff that was happening to her body, and she'd be like, oh, what? She said, oh, you must thank God you're not a woman. This thing that's happening to me. She said, I'm hot and I'm cold, I'm angry and I'm tired and I'm sleepy and I'm tired and I'm low. I don't want it. And then like when she was finished, she said, I feel strong, I feel like a man. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. But so she was turned into one. No, so I love these conversations. And I'm in a strange way used to them, you know, because of just, I guess, how my mom was with me. But I don't know what some of the terms are. I don't, so like, what is vaginal atrophy?
You should say vaginal atrophy is what 50% of women who go through perimenopause actually experience. So 50%. So it's a real serious part of, I am so not alone in what I've gone through. And it's when the walls of your vagina start to actually atrophy, which means they start to fall apart and sort of disintegrate. You lose your collagen inside your vagina, as we do in our faces, and we start to get wrinkles and your skin gets crepey. That's what's happening inside your vagina. And so the walls get really thin,
Vandaag krijg je dit in my education.
You? Die voeten wat ik heel waar, joh.
And that's what the razor blades in the vagina feels like.
Voeten wat ik heel zwaar weer.
Right? And sometimes it happens during sex, but then it can happen after you've had sex. If you were like in the moment and you got your groove and you don't feel that it's cracking because you know those endorphins are kicking off and pleasure is happening, the next morning when you go to the bathroom and you try to urinate, it's when the urine touches the walls of those cracks. That's what
Burning.
makes it so painful. Right? And that's what vaginal atrophy is.
I'm so curious. Women aren't necessarily talking to other women about this and don't have any sources themselves. Doctors don't seem to know. Where does a woman go who's like perimenopausal or menopausal and is trying to figure out what is going on and who to come?
That's funny you should say. Because we have just launched Respin 2.0 and Respin Health. And the whole idea of this company is about creating community. We learned that when people have other people, like-minded people who are struggling with the same issue to talk to, there's strength in it, right? There's strength in community. Talking to other people, you can hold each other accountable, you can brainstorm, you can share stories. Because I've learned, as I've been talking about it, when I talk to other women, they go, they instantly feel better because they can talk about it with someone who understands, who's not afraid to talk about it, who can hold space with their feelings, and know that what they're saying is true and real.
So right, like
They
him,
feel ashamed, they can feel not alone, less afraid. That right there is half the battle. Just getting them to talk about it and feel good talking, not just talking about it, but feeling empowered by being able to talk about it. So Respin is that place of community. But they can also not just talk about it in like a wild, wild west kind of way. They can talk about it and be guided with doctors and professionals and scientists.
Also, it's connected to healthcare providers as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And people that are on the cutting edge of where we are in menopause, who are doing the latest researches, right? Running the most recent clinical trials and studies who can tell you why HRT
Dan
is
zie je, trek hem af, was hem af en apply papain en balmcream. Balmcream, ne?
Yes.
Papain en
So, and that's something I actually wanted to ask you about because
Sa klaar, Joe, je moest nog wel doen.
you speak about it openly. I'm so terrified of hormone replacement therapy.
Yes, because that's done.
Yeah, and I say, well, the study's been debunked, and you go on Instagram and see the comments section, big pharma trying to kill us. Wow. No, but, you know, because it's like breast cancer is a thing that does increase with age, and people are terrified to get breast cancer.
Yes.
So there are women suffering right now who
Yes.
maybe are good candidates for HRT.
Absolutely, and that's why we have to figure out what the truth is about it. And then as women, we have to make those choices for ourselves. Not because what you heard or what somebody else is afraid of, but we have to make these decisions based on education for ourselves. Because for me, just me, we have a greater chance of having cancer late in life anyway. So if that's the truth, I want to live my second half feeling.
Ja, mijn broer, man. Sorry, mister.
Not raging, not having headaches, not worrying.
Not being at the mercy of your body, it sounds like.
Right, I want to live my best life. And so once I did my own education, I too was afraid of HRT because I heard those stories. But once I got into understanding why it was okay for me, I now know I'll be on this till the day I die.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I'm going to die anyway, and I'm going to die feeling good about
We
it.
don't know. We don't know just the fact that
Yes,
we
I'm
don't know.
going to die.
We assume, we think you'll die.
But I might
I
die.
mean, you say 15, we don't know.
We don't know.
I might be, like, there might be a future generation that is coming. So Hadley, as the first 1,000-year-old person, how do you feel about, let me ask you a few questions.
Oh God, I'm better not be here.
From an ignorant perspective, like, you know, for people who are either scared or unsuitable for hormone replacement therapy, are there other options? Are there non-HRT options?
Yeah, there are other options on the market that women can try that are afraid or, legit cannot go on hormone replacement. There are those women out there. But that's why I've been in Washington trying to get this bill passed, this menopause bill with a $265 million bill, because we need more research. We need more education. We need more therapies developed so that HRT will not be the best solution. Right now, arguably, if you can take it, it is the best solution. But we're working with doctors and with the government to try to come up with other therapies because not every woman will feel like that's the right choice for her. I get that. And we should have the right to do hormone or do, a non-hormonal remedy. We should have the right to make that choice for
The right
ourselves.
has the range.
Yes.
Curious, like drinking bone broth, collagen supplements, would that help?
Yes, all of that helps. I'm on bone broth, been on that for like 6 years, bone broth supplements, a good quality collagen. Now, all collagen is not created equal, but a good collagen, absolutely.
So from the inside out, you can do some.
Yeah, you can do some of the work, but sometimes I'm finding for the more severe vaginal atrophies, that's like the slow boat from China. Like, you might be done having sex before it gets fixed.
Yeah.
So you might have to find another remedy, like the BFIT or HRT, or vaginal inserts, estradiol vaginal inserts. We're now finding are actually very, very helpful too.
So I would understand if like this was a conversation that women didn't have with men. I'd love to know like why women don't have it with women or why it isn't like I don't even
Exactly. Goed praat met elkaar.
Alam mo nonsense ka nila goed praat.
Exactly. Skinner.
Ja.
You skill oor onder de voeten. Nee, is goed.
Sold the ideology that we have to stay forever young. We have to stay forever 30.
Oh, Dad.
Right? And look around. Look, you see what's happening to the faces and the people. We have to stay at all costs. We cannot.
Alex, I'm listening to Trevor Noah, man. Trevor Noah is interviewing Halle Berry on his podcast.
We don't want to get old either. So we're not going to talk about that with each other. Women are talking about
The lady that you are listening to is Halle Berry.
That's what we're talking about. Where we
I didn't know she's gonna talk about stuff like this.
thinking. The goal should not be to stay forever 30. The goal should be
So I think I'm just gonna skip this.
to be able to do that, knowing that our real value lies within, not externally. Because we're fighting for external youth. Because the inside is doing what the inside is doing.
Welcome to a special part of the show, Best Drive Ever, which is
Junior nog even naar beef gepraat daar bij podcast van hem. Hij een plaats naar zijn beef.
Nee, ik weet het wel. Hij beef. Ik luister naar een podcast. Ik luister naar mensen, dan moet ik iets leren. Besok ko yung interlock man. Ano na ko? Kailan ko stay so. Thank you guys for tuning into my live. Hope you guys are doing great. Don't forget guys to hit the subscribe button. Yes, Halle Berry talking about her experience. She thought she had herpes. Turned out she didn't have herpes, but she's just aging.
Die fuck. Nog draaien om te lopen. Nog draaien om te lopen.
Sorry. Helemaal oké. Mano, ada yang skip PW fan nih. Saya fry so wat puter is er ons nou. Hallo.
Live.
especially at that time, you know, when you grew up in the 80s, wrestling back then, late 70s, 80s was a whole different, I think, unique experience in that a lot of people
Panas
bought
rin
into
ito,
it,
no?
and they felt like it was real. And they'd have these local stars every week, and they'd be on their television
Kasama
sets,
di
just their
Oman
local
dun,
TVs.
nahuli
And they
Oman
would
of
talk
dun.
down the lens about what they're going to do to their opponent this Saturday night at whatever little arena they're wrestling in. I loved all
Alto eh,
that.
in alto
And
sa
I had
amin.
a front row seat watching
Alto
my dad
upas.
and my grandfather and everybody in my family live their passions. And it's what they, I believe, we're all born to do.
Wow.
And so I think the yearning of it, it started to happen for me when, to be honest, when we were evicted out of Hawaii. So we were living
I
in
miss
Hawaii
you.
when we were evicted. When I was 13 or 14 years old. And I remember in that moment, I never wanted to feel that again. I was with my mom, and we came home and it was padlocked. But there was a notice, so you have a week to get home.
And that was it.
And that was it. And I remember just her and I, she was standing there, she was crying, she didn't know what to do. And my dad was wrestling in Tennessee at that time. And I remember then thinking, I never want to experience this again, and what can I do to change it? What can I do? What can I do with my own 2 points? And I'm 14, so I can't do shit.
That's a tough place to be as a 14-year-old.
14-year-old, right? So I remember at that time thinking, well, all the heroes in my life are these guys. Are these guys who are big, they're strong, they're pro wrestlers. I bet you if I built my body and I went to the gym, then I could change this scenario. So from that moment, I think that defining moment, now years later, I fell in love with the game of football. Trance. I love playing football. My goals shifted to, well, maybe I got a shot to go to the NFL. I was at University of Miami, great school, we were national champions, played for it on 2 other occasions. I mean, we were balling. You had those hurricanes back then, dude. I think we were in Johannesburg at that time.
Yeah, that's way back, yeah.
In the 90s, but we were really balling. So I shifted my goals, and then when that didn't happen with the NFL, I took it as a sign. And I remember thinking, I need to close this chapter in my life, really listen to my gut, and I want to turn my attention to something I think I'm going to be so passionate about, and I think I was born to do.
One of the things I find fascinating about you as a person is how you engage, how you choose to engage with internal doubts and external doubts, which I think as humans we face. I saw a video of yours on Instagram, you're in the gym, and you were answering a question, and it was a great question, you know, someone saying to you, how do you deal with the criticism, you know, and how do you filter the criticism that you receive in your life? What I was intrigued by was who the criticism came to, and I'll tell you why. You are somebody who has, for a very long time, created content that aims to entertain, uplift, you know, in some way inspire. You've done that. You've seen, whether it's your music, whether it's, you know, it's like you like making people feel good. You like bringing that light into the world. Yeah. And I, over the past few weeks, I've been thinking to myself, man, we're living in a world where it's become harder and harder for anyone to exist or to do anything with good intention and not find some sort of criticism at the end of that. And I feel like you're the paragon of that. Here you have Dwayne Johnson. And it's funny, I was chatting to Oprah about this a few days ago. You know, the fires in Maui. Fires happen. Some of the most devastating fires in American history. Immediately, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, and Oprah come together and say, hey, we're gonna help. We're gonna put our money into a fund, and we're asking everyone to join us. Just do what we're doing in any way you can, and let's make a change.
There's something about mom's it's cough, headache, and blockers.
It's more than just a touch. It's Vicks Vapor.
It relieves nasal congestion, cough, body ache, headache, and muscle stiffness.
For a good night's sleep. Vicks Vapor.
If you look younger than your age, you might be one of us. If you've never broken a single bone, you might be one of us.
The 12 types of light workers.
state test.
The greatest sense of empowerment is being able to have some control when everything seems so out of control, and we're calling it People's Fund of Maui because every dollar that you send is going to go into an account that goes directly to the people.
Over on the Rock are giving $10 million to get the fund started, and they're calling for others to make donations.
And I mean, you saw what happened overnight. I thought I missed something. I don't know if this, I don't know, what was it like from your perspective? Because I thought I missed something. I saw the initial call and I went, wow, okay, cool. We're doing something. We're trying to do something. And then, you don't even feel like you missed the news cycle. Like, oh, The Rock and Oprah under fire. I was like, but for what? And then people were like, oh, you're the problem. How dare you? And why would you? And I was like, man, our whole lives people have asked people to join into a worthy cause.
Sure.
When did this become a criticism or a fight? And I'd love to know how you process that.
Sure. I woke up the next morning wondering the same thing, thinking, what happened? Did I miss something? Wait, did I? Okay, what? So it took me a couple of weeks to really process it, and I felt like that moment was a pivotal moment for me in my life for a few reasons. Number one, I want to go back to the brass tacks of it, and the whole idea of creating this fund, the People's Fund of Maui, to help people and help survivors. And Trev, these are my people. These are my Polynesian people, my Hawaiian, Kanaka, Ohana, Aina. My grandparents, they're all buried in the islands, so it meant so much to me, and I know it meant so much to our people, that we were able to come together and create this fund. Over 8,000 survivors. Wow, that's really beautiful. But what's interesting is when all that started to happen, and the backlash started to happen, we started coming our way. So I always feel like in moments like that, it's important not to get caught up in it. It's important just to pause. Let's be prudent, let's pause, let him just wait and see. And I felt like my gut said, it's going to take a couple of weeks, but let me really take a look at it. I don't want to respond to it right now. Let's stay focused on the mission. And the mission is to help the survivors right now who have nothing and they are devastated. And so let's continue to stand the fund up on its feet. But at the same time, I want to pay attention to this, and it really tested my ability to separate noise from criticism that was really worthy of my attention in this case. And this noise, at first it was a wave of noise. Okay. How dare you ask us? And I thought the same thing. Whatever you do, you want to give a prayer, great. $1, $7, 7 cents, or nothing. So there was the noise that started to feel like it was political. Then it started to feel like it was, it just started to feel really noisy, and I wanted to make sure that we just paused, and I was just waiting for, well, where's the criticism here that is really my attention, that really makes sense, and then, that's it. This is what I feel like. It took me weeks before I figured this out, and I just had a moment. I think I was, as I usually do, I was having a drink. Help in my mind and clear all the shit out of my head. And once all that that's it. And I saw someone had posted something, and it was something to the effect of basically, like, don't pay attention to these guys, and all this other bullshit that they're saying. However, you're one of us. And when I read "You're One of Us," was the thing that made me go, got it. Went back to when I was a boy, when I got arrested, we had nothing. I was a troubled kid. I got arrested like you, like right, so we're both troubled kids. Arrested multiple times. I was always pissed that we were broke. There's a difference between being poor and being broke.
Yep.
And I was pissed, I was always angry, getting in fights, getting in trouble. And the last thing I realized in that moment, the last thing that I wanted to hear was somebody asking me for money, especially if the dude who I liked is asking me for money and he already has money. And I get a lot of times when you're in that situation, I've been there, you're living paycheck to paycheck. You're in it.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily vibrating, you know, at a certain level when you're in it. So I came out of that and I went, that's right. I got it, now I understand. And you know what? The last thing I wanted was to be asked for money, regardless of the situation.
I admire how you think. I admire how you look at the world. On multiple levels. Because you strike me as somebody who has witnessed and experienced a lot of conflict. You also strike me as somebody who doesn't wish to perpetuate of any conflict. You know, both of us raised for a large part of our lives by our moms, you know, and you see in somebody, you go like, yeah, this guy is trying to move in a certain way. He's trying to do things in a different way. There was a moment when you talked about politics, and you always stayed out of it, you know, which I appreciate for people who do. And literally before you came on, I was talking to my team, and I was saying, in South Africa when we grew up, we had a simple rule, and that rule was your vote is your secret. And the reason we believed in that was mostly for people's safety. We said no one should know how anybody votes, so that nobody gets intimidated to vote a certain way or not. And the other one was just for civil discourse. Vote. But let's talk as humans. Don't start the conversation with, I voted like this, now here's the conversation. Just have the conversation.
That's right.
You'll be shocked at how many times we're blocked because we start with the label as opposed to just the conversation.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
And so, I look at your life, and here's the thing that always struck me, was you live in a country that is so divided. You live in a country where people fight about everything. And then this poll came out, and it said 43 or 46% of the country would love the idea of Dwayne Johnson running for president. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, damn. I mean, it either means you are the paragon of what people would hope a leader would be, or it means things have gotten so bad that they like, we need somebody who's going to come in here and lay the smackdown on everybody. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So let's talk through two things. The one is, your response was interesting. You said if that was something that people wanted me to do, I would consider it or I would do it. Tell me why you said that, or what you want to achieve in that world, and then also tell me how you see politics. You have an interesting view, not political parties, but just like the way humans interact with each other.
Sure. Well, a few things. I just want to go back for a second because you said something about, and at least this was my interpretation of what you said about, you know, we could screw up, we fuck up at a time, and that's just like, but we learn from it. And I try not to make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
But I also do my best these days, Trevor, and this has taken years, by the way, to not let ego, judgment, or early anticipation shape my ability to receive what is happening.
It's not easy.
No, it's not easy. And so many times in the past, it has stifled either my growth or my ability to do something and go, you know what, I never looked at it like that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's going to help shape me as I walk forward. So, and I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's important. And I know that the majority of people out there, we want to be better.
I do. I agree.
Right? We want to be good.
We want to be good.
We want to be good. We want to learn from our mistakes. So that was an interesting poll that happened, and I was really moved by that, and I was really blown away. I was really honored. I was. I'll share this a little bit with you. At the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, in 2022, I got a visit from the parties, asking me if I was going to run, if I could run.
Wow.
It was a big deal, and it came out of the blue.
Wow.
It was one after the other. And they brought up that poll. They also brought up their own deep dive research in depth that would prove, should I ever decide to go down that road,
That would be a real contender.
yeah, and it was all very surreal, because that's never been my goal. My goal has never been to be in politics.
Mhm.
In fact, there's a lot about politics.
Yeah, I know this about you, yeah.
So I was moved by that, and the reason why I had given that response, that's truly what the people want, and of course I will consider. And after that response, that's when the parties came. But then I really had to double down on this idea, and this is the truth, which is, well, I got little ones. And I was, so
Imagine
three
the Rock
daughters,
as a
right?
president.
I love estrogen. I love it. I have a 22-year-old daughter, and I have a 7.5.
Yeah.
And the 22-year-old daughter, Simone, we essentially, I like to say, man, we grew up together. But I also know what it's like to be in a occupation that took me away. That was as a pro wrestler, full-time, wrestling 230 days a year for years as she came into the world. So I know what it's like to have that separation and not be there for the birthdays, not be there for the pickups, the drop-offs, and everything else. And I didn't want that. I don't want that going forward now.
Right.
And so that was one of my primary discussion parties. Who ultimately were like, yeah, but the other ones have done it like this. But so with the response, I responded in that way. I thought it was important, and I do feel that way. By the way, if that's ultimately what the people would want, then of course I would consider.
Wow. People's
En
champ.
wanneer is die?
That's, I love the way your face lights
Ja.
up when you speak about your daughters.
Die is
It
podcast.
happens every time, you can't control it. If I was playing a game of poker with you, I'm trying to put a picture of your daughters.
Kan nog
on the
gemaakt
card,
worden,
and I
ja.
would know which card.
Ja.
Somewhere in the future.
Super simp.
Ja.
What I appreciate most about it is that I think you have, in many major ways, changed
Ja, dan toch
the way
om
people
je zo
see
wat je moet
what
doen.
it means to be a dad.
Ja.
Maar ik denk dat je nog gaat boven is.
Tjus, schade terwijl, joh.
A dad
Maar ik kom nou weer voor je, hè.
strong man,
Kom eens nog naar die man.
Ik zoek eens, ja.
Step up a little. Come on, shut up, kids. Come on,
Gewoon
keep
dat er
moving.
voor te sturen.
And then here comes
Hij gaat niet bij morgen weer naar weer.
the
Wat up, mijn bro?
Hij is al drie.
Laatste, toen hij man die was.
your little girls
Betalen in mijn klaar.
painting your nails.
Toen kon je het maken.
Tutus, playing with
Hij heeft
them.
mij
You
een
were
305 betalen.
their world.
Hij moet komen.
Proud girl dad, and you were raising
Moet hij dan niet klaar komen hier op zijn arm?
Hij is ook helemaal, hij zoekt zijn borst en zijn arm. Sleeves, hij zoekt 2 sleeves dan.
How you want to be a man, and what are you consciously trying to think of for their perception of men as they grow up?
Well, you just said it. I mean, that's it. Let's start with the last thing you said, because it's the anchor thing, Jack. It is, I am their model of what a man will be. I'm their first man in their life. So I take that with all the DNA that I got in my body. I take that not only so serious, but I want to be that example for them. Now, let me just take you back for a second. The man who raised me was my dad, Rocky Johnson. Right. His dad died when he was 13. Those holidays, the holidays that came up after his dad's death, a new boyfriend was in the picture. Boyfriend gets drunk, pisses on the turkey. My dad's 13. He grabbed a shovel, a big shovel, my dad took and drew a line in the dirt and said, if you cross that line, I'm going to kill you. The drunk asshole crossed the line, he knocked him out cold as a block of ice.
Your dad knocked him out.
My dad knocked him out with a shovel and tried to kill him. Wow. 13. They're good for the good cameras. Nova Scotia. The cops come, and the cops say, well, he's still unconscious, but he's not dead. When he wakes up, one or two things are going to happen. He's going to kill your son, or your son is going to kill him. So the cop's recommendation to my dad's mom was, one of them has to go. You know where I'm going with this now.
Jeez.
She looked at her son.
Yo.
His name is Wade, and said, you have to go. So 13, he's out on the streets. Now, the reason why I tell you that story is
Yes, my bro.
that's my dad's capacity for love. 13. You're gone. So that's the man who raised me. So that's the stiff upper lip. Come on, work through it.
Yung mama.
Get out.
Yung mama.
Hoe voelt je het in de room, maar gewoon...
13, maar dan, kijk hoe Willem was elke keer zo tegen zitten. 11 tussen een paar meid. Een paar dagen was hij geen goed man niet binnen is. De goeie. Hij zei de bestraal geslapen, een kar geslapen. Ik weet waar is vandaag.
And to these 3 beautiful daughters, man, I have learned so much from my dad.
Ja joh, like this nou. Of 13 man niet zo blaarskoos me nog dat be.
What makes you up, your DNA. But at the same time, I also know what it's like not to be hugged and not to be kissed on the cheek. And so in that, in learning that, now I turn to my daughters and it's, oh, you want to paint my face? Hit the paint. Now what? How many colors do you want to put on? You want to paint my nails? You want this? You want to do that? And hitting the balls? Okay, great. Close my eyes. I know it's coming. It's that game. Close your eyes, Daddy. Okay, here we go.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, man. I mean, I love and appreciate my old man. It's
Yeah.
a complicated relationship, but my daughters help shape me being a man. My dad helped shape me being a man, but also being a father. On what to do and, you know, the stuff that I missed and that I want to give to my little girls.
That's an iconic duo that changes everything. Living the and giving everything lives.
Want vitamins, fiber, and energy? Kellogg's Cocoa Pops. Power breakfast.
Maar ik denk maar het nou. Als time speel belangrijker rol, maar ik denk zal daar nou gebeuren nou zal jou 13 jaar kind tik toe gaan komen. Deze wil niet tik geweest of drugs, kind hardcore drugs zingen. Maar nog steeds geen doorgedrongen.
Maar het is bij jou wijs, ja. Ultimately was het maar net een choice.
Dat is een choice in ieder geval, ja.
That moves them in a certain direction. You know, there's no denying that many young men in the world right now feel lost. You know, and I think, personally, I think it's because a lot of young men grew up in a world where they were just told the world would give them what it's supposed to give them and would be the way it's supposed to be, and now that it isn't, they don't know how to exist within it. You know, they go, are women replacing us, or are we still allowed to be men? And it can be confusing with some of the messages that people get. It's noisy. It's noisy. And I think something like you exists in a space where you inspire these young men in a really powerful and particular way. You know, 'cause it's not just with your daughters. You're so open about challenges. One of those is depression. There was a time in the industry, there was a time in the world, a man couldn't come out and say, hey man, I'm struggling with depression. You know, there's a moment in my life that was tough. You couldn't be an action star and say you had anything wrong in the world and still be the top grossing action star in the world. That I feel like is one of the best looking too as well. I mean, this is, of course. I forgive me, we'll edit that in. And of course, and the best looking. Let's make sure we throw that in. And the best looking. But like you, that's probably one of my favorite villains you fought against and beaten, is the stigma against speaking about the struggle that you may have in your mind. When you spoke about that, when you revealed that, was there a part of you that was afraid of revealing this?
Didn't even think about it. Didn't even look at it that way. I didn't think, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe there's a reputation I should uphold. Big, strong men. It's that culture. How is it going to be received? I didn't really think about it. I just remember, I don't remember exactly when, but I remember being in an interview or something, and I started talking about it. And I realized as I was saying it, and I certainly realized it after the feedback I got, and this was probably years ago, of how much it helped. How much it helped guys, how much it helped men, how much it helped people. So, you know, but also, Trevor, I went through bouts of depression, not knowing what I was going through.
Yeah.
I didn't know what depression was. 20 years ago, there wasn't, oh, this is depression, it's mental health.
Yeah.
Ja.
People back then.
Ik denk wel eens aan. Hij was echt namen voor de goed geweest. Zeg maar, hoe het komt, maar was depressie. Maar slaan zo in depressie.
And people still think this today. is, yeah, but it's a choice. You'll get through it. Wake up. It's a choice to be happy. It's a choice to be sad. So come on. Like, fuck that riots. You got this. Move on. When a lot of times you just wake up blue and you don't have that choice. And it's not that easy. You just don't turn it on or turn it on. And I also realized as I went down the road, once I started to realize what it was, why I felt I didn't want to do anything, why I was emotional about things. It first happened at the University of Miami when I was 18 years old. I came in, everything was great, I was on top. I get injured, complete reconstruction with my shoulder. I was done. I wasn't participating in team meetings, practice. I wasn't going to class. First time away from home, isolated, my brother, it all converged. Went through my first bout of depression back then. Also, back when I had $7 in my pocket, my divorce, and so on and so on and so on. And once I started to realize what it was, I started to not only did I realize what it was, but then realize the power of talking about it and how important that is. And now I can tell young men, young women, kids, students, older people, doesn't matter. Hey, it's your superpower. It's okay. Talk about it. Right? Be open. If you're feeling blue, if you're feeling fucked up, if you don't have the answers, even if you don't know why. Because a lot of times, sure there's that thing, that this thing happened, therefore I'm depressed. But a lot of times, people just wake up and the skies are gray. Yep. You don't know what to do. And one of the most powerful things you can do is, number one, know you're not alone. Know that if you're experiencing it, there's a lot of other people out there experiencing it too. And talk about it. I appreciate that. I really do. What do you do? I'm curious.
So what I try and do is I track, I track the when and the why.
Are you open about talking?
Oh, yeah. So for
Or
instance,
you always that way?
no, because I didn't understand. You know? So before I was diagnosed with ADHD, I didn't know what was happening. I thought I struggled with depression. I didn't know until I read about it and really, spent some time with some great people, therapists and just experts in the field. I didn't even know that depression was just a symptom, it was a byproduct of ADHD. I actually don't suffer from depression. I feel I did. So I speak about it all the time because one, you get rid of the stigma, but two, you start to understand. I think there's something cool about understanding things. There's something really nice in knowing how it works. And so for myself, what I do now is I will just do a check-in of what's happening behind everything. If I wake up feeling blue, I just ask myself simple questions. How long did I sleep for? What did I eat last night? Do I have something big coming up? Did I not finish a conversation yet? I just try and check. I don't get the answer. I just ask questions. And then I'll do it again. I'll be like, man, I don't feel like I'm doing anything today. I'll be like, okay, well, what are you doing? Are there days when you want to do it? And if it's yes, what's different today? I find if you just check in with yourself and almost, like I know now as well, if I haven't slept, then my motivation isn't where it needs to be. If I eat late, my sleep isn't good and that affects me as well. If I'm not around my people, my community, if I don't recharge, that's something that's always going to affect me. And so I try and check in. I want to go back to what you said though about, divorce. Again, I would love to understand how you did this and what you can teach us about your experience. Many people will experience divorce. Again, it's something that's shrouded in shame. Nobody wants to have to stay in marriages forever, even when they can't or shouldn't. You got divorced, but your divorce is really unique in that your ex-wife is your business partner. Your ex-wife is the person who's helped you turn the rock from an individual into an idea that spans the globe. Dwayne Johnson was everything from tequila to workout apparel with Under Armour to wrestling and movies and music and
Sexiest Man Alive.
Sexiest Man Alive, of course. Sexiest Man Alive.
Blijf it.
I want to know on a relationship level, how are you able to be in a divorce with somebody? And I ask this for everyone who's in any relationship. and then still find a way to love and respect them enough to move forward? Because I'm sure the divorce was hard.
Yes.
What did you learn that enabled you to work with your ex-wife to achieve everything that you've done and still do today?
I learned exactly that, what you just said, that we can still make it all happen. We just have to be unattached to how we get there. And that's also be unattached to what the original goal was. Now, the original goal was a divorce, and divorce was fucking hard, man. And especially at that age for me, I was getting a divorce, I transitioned out of wrestling. And when I left wrestling, I was on top. I was very lucky and fortunate. I was on top main event, and I thought if I want to expand on the world, and I want to bring wrestling with me. And then I thought, God, this is the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. And so it was that, and going through a divorce at the same time. Our daughter at that time maybe was 3-4 years old. Who's going to be raising her? Me. Who's another man? I'm sure she will need another. There was all that shit that was going on in my head. What I realized was, with Danny, my ex-wife, who is now my business partner, we're great friends, and as a force unto herself, she really is extremely proud of everything that she's accomplished. We realized early, once we kind of got through okay, we're going to get a divorce, this is real, this is happening, it's not what we signed up for. You know, is there a version of this as we move forward where we started to build this business together? Can we continue to build this business together? Is that possible? Are we fucking crazy? And the thought was, well, let's look at the dynamic here with a beautiful daughter. We have an opportunity now to show her a way, post something not working out, post a relationship or marriage not working out, but being an example for her of how you can work through something and resolve something. And on the other side of it, it may not be originally what you signed up for, but who knows, it could be better. And so we realized that, and then we went to work. And when I say we went to work, it is bringing in the experts. Right now. And I'm not even that lawyer. We kept them off to the side. And we figured all that out on our own. We figured it all out on our own, and then we went to them. But we brought in the experts, the relationship experts. Right. Who are going to help us through this thing. And we wound up doing it. It took a lot of work. And a lot of grinding. Because you start to unpack a lot of stuff, and you start to realize a lot of stuff about yourself, about your partner, about the relationship, about how you see the world, how you see everything, how you see love, how you think you're pretty good at relationships. Yeah, actually, you're not. You got a lot to learn. So that's what we did, and it wound up being a great decision.
I'm so happy for you.
I got a question for you then. Yeah. So there's a moment I feel like it happens in all of our lives where it's that seminal, defining moment where you go, this is what I'm for. This thing. Now I'm talking specifically about passion. Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I heard this story, but I want to confirm it because I think it's phenomenal. I have something very similar. Yeah. Which bonds us here is, so you went to a show in CBU in Joburg. Yeah. And you were there, one of your buddies got up, and he started performing. And it might have been open mic or something like that. And he didn't do that well. Right. He might still be your buddy, so I don't want to say his name. He might be listening right now. But he didn't do that well. And another one of your buddies looked at you and was like, hey man, right, so you're funny, why don't you get up there? And you got up there.
So it was actually messier than that. But yeah, carry on.
Okay, and you got up there. I can't wait to hear the messy version of that. But you got up there and you moved the crowd. Yeah. And there was something about that moment that made you go, there could be something here. Like tap into light and it was behind the ridge. Right. Tell me about that.
So what actually happened was, stand-up comedy wasn't a thing in South Africa before democracy because free speech was illegal. So you start with that. So the only people who could do stand-up comedy were people who didn't say anything about the government and they were white. Anyone of any color couldn't do stand-up. So you have this burgeoning industry that pops off. This world that's never existed. In many ways, it was like the wrestling that your dad was a part of and what you started in. It's this ragtag affair. You know what? Everyone knew everyone. Yes. You just find a space, you make it happen, you try to get the locals to pop in, and this is it. You don't know how it's going to go, you don't know what it's going to be, You're just begging anyone with a venue to allow you to put on this motley crew of ideas.
Yes.
And
But it's going to be
yeah, but I didn't know about stand-up comedy as a concept. That's how new it was in South Africa. I was living with my cousin and best friend at the time. And they said to me one day, hey, we're going to go to a stand-up comedy show. I was like, well, what is that? They're like, oh, we're going to go to the show. Come join us. All right, we roll. We go everywhere together. I get to this place. It's actually a bar, you know, little corner spot in the middle of downtown Johannesburg, a place called Newtown. And we're sitting there, and some guy climbs onto stage, and it was so ragtag that he had to climb through a window to get onto the stage. It's like a little window on the side. It's not a real stage. Climbs onto this little platform, holds the mic, starts speaking. People start laughing, does his thing. Comedian, he won't even know, it's a great guy. He's on stage. But the night was bad. Comedians have bad nights. You know what it's like as a performer, sure. You know what it's like when there are people there. I mean, you were doing it to hundreds, then thousands, then, you know what I mean, tens of thousands of people. You know what it's like when a line doesn't land. You know what it's like when a moment doesn't connect.
It was also, you know, the high.
Yeah.
First line hits.
Yeah, and they're off. So it wasn't working well for the comedians. My cousin gets drunk. He says, he starts heckling and he's like, ooh, this is terrible. Because it's so small, everybody knows each other. The guy from stage goes, he's like, Lou, shut up, man. What? You know how hard we work? He's like, you guys suck. So he says, why don't you come on stage and try it? And my cousin goes, well, I don't know if I can do that, but Trevor can. I'm sober. Now I'm just been thrust into this mix. I go, hey, I know nothing about this. I have no beef with anybody. The comedian comes to me and he goes, oh, you think you're so big? Why don't you come on stage? I said, I've said nothing. And then he like coaxed me. Now it's pride. Now I'm like, all right, let's do it because of the friend. I go, I get on stage, and I remember I literally didn't know what to do, and I turned to my friends, like, what am I going to say? And he said, just tell them that story about the Nigerian guy fixing your VCR machine. Just tell them that story. I was like, okay, and I got on stage, and I told that story, and people were howling, and people were crying laughing. And it connected me to something that has taken me more than a decade to understand. And it's that I grew up in a household and in a country and in a society with so much violence.
So it's a huge per ongeluk met de glascover, ja.
Asma is my altyd so
Asma is
they find it impossible to play.
Yes, ja.
In die meeste gevalle is het so.
Even die guy wat die letters dit gemaakt het, hij is anders gemaakt. Die kom je op kracht in.
Families that use data regularly fall ill less often. Use data every day to shield your family.
That I have loved and yearned and enjoyed for nothing more than to make people feel good. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when people come to a show and you see what it's like, man, people will tell you stories. My dad had cancer and the only thing we connected around was this show. My family was going through this tough time and we loved this show. You know, there's a powerful thing that you can do in giving to another the joy that you may not even have in that moment. And so that's something that I've always found for myself. And that's what I mean, we were doing the rooms in the gym at school. We had detention. And we had this like giant room where you would just get locked in. It was like, that's your detention. It was like a gym really, but it was a massive gym. And we would put out all these mats. And we'd be like, all right, we're practicing the rocks moves, let's go. And everyone would get in there. And I'm talking like almost two stories high. And we'd climb up on the railing. This was our cage match. And you grab someone, you know what I mean? You get underneath them, you're right there, the rock bottom, baby. And you get right underneath, and then you jump down and we'd slam each other. But that's what I mean. Think about that connection. Think about how far that was. Think about how far you were from me in South Africa. Think about how far I was from you in the United States. And yet, in that moment, we were connected. And so, I think that's what I love. That's why I'm having this conversation. That's why I want to talk about things in the world, is because we've forgotten that the same thing that connects us into the worst of each other can be used to connect us into the best of each other. That's right. We can reach consensus. We can discover new ideas. We can learn. You don't agree with your friends on everything, but they're still your friends. Your family, you fight with them, but you still love them. You know, and so that's literally like, you know, we can learn, we can find resolve. And I don't know anybody who does it better than you, genuinely. You have a You have a way of stringing it all together. You never left the rest of the fans behind. They still love you, they still respect you. You've never turned your back on it. You know, you've always loved the fans of your movies and the things that you do. You sport, the same thing, the love that you show. You know, whether it's XFL, whether it's NFL, you show that love and that passion. You have that.
Rocco Herrera Eastern.
Ya, ya,
Ini pas sama Rocco Herrera.
kasih aja.
And you're the best looking man on the planet.
Keras.
This is
Masalah keras ya.
something we have to
Rock. Sebenarnya kami dah rokam dulu. Kami dah rokam dulu.
But I gotta say, thank you for telling me that story. I heard that story. I heard a version of that story.
Yeah.
This version is even better. But it actually goes deeper than what I expected to hear. Because this idea that we have this passion, and I always like to say, one of our end-room tenants in just any business that I do or anything that I do, I want to send people home happy. I want to make them happy. And it's just that simple. And I feel like if we're lucky enough to be in this position where we can influence a person to, like me, like you, like this idea that you can come to us and do all I can to make you feel good. And sitting on that, the blessing that is.
It truly is. So before I let you go, I have one question that I'm going to ask all my guests. Because you meet people at a moment in time. Had I met you a few decades ago, you would be stepping into wrestling. Had I met you at another time, you'd be stepping into the world of Hollywood. The world people said you'd never break into. People like, who would watch you down in the morning? And yet here you are. You know, the most popular and sexiest Dwayne on the planet. You know, you didn't have to put mustard on it. But it's true. It's true. No. What I'm saying is, I love it because it's part of your success. It's your hero's journey. It is the hero's journey. Yes. So, what now? You know, you are now in a place in your life where you are still able to be an athlete in wrestling. You know, you went that now with the strike. You know, you also are somebody who is powerful in Hollywood and in the industry. You know, you show that with your donations to the to the Screen Actors Guild. You know, you see your efforts in philanthropy. You're a powerhouse in making drinks. You know, it's like, here you are. But what now? What is the thing that you are looking for, not just on a professional level, but in your life? Like, you know, where does Dwayne Johnson go? All right, this is the next step that I'm trying to get to. Oh, this is the next thing that I'm trying to achieve in myself as a human being.
Yes. The next thing is this. Let me preface with, man, I'm lucky. And I feel like along the way, I got lucky. And you hear, well, the harder you work, the luckier you go. And that could be true. But I do feel that by the grace of God, man, there's just these angels, I feel like, along the way, just help guide and shape and shift me. And take care of me at the darkest and lowest. And those angels, by the way, are still in my life. I could count them on one hand. Have fingers left over, I like to say. But so I want to preface it with how grateful I am. And I'm a lucky guy to be in this position. And I'm lucky to have climbed a mountain and breathing a certain air that I'm well aware that at times it's a rare air too as well. And the thing I want to do now is not stay here in this place on this mountain, but I want to build more mountain. I want to build more mountain professionally, but more importantly than professionally, I want to build more mountain spiritually, emotionally. Humanity is so important to me. And not only build more mountain, but then bring everyone with me so we can all build new mountain. So it's all about building new mountain for me. And in that
Cash of transfer,
again, we could distill this down. You know what I'm saying? It's build new mountain, it's growing, it's being open, and especially now, so much. There's so much toxicity, so much bullshit that everybody is dealing with. And the moment you wake up, the moment you go to bed, you open your phone, turn the TV on, listen to the radio, there's so much toxicity and noise. But man, there's also so much good stuff out there too as well. So, build new mountain.
I love that. Build new mountain.
And bring everyone with you. So we're all building new mountain together.
I love it. Well, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, sexiest man alive. Thank you for your time. Thank you. You know what's great? You will always have been my first guest. You know what I love about the full circle of things? I'll leave you with this. The first guest I had on The Daily Show was Kevin Hart. Wow. And the reason I always appreciate the firsts is because the firsts have to do something that most people are afraid to do, and that is trust in what they don't know. You come here, you don't know how this could go, you don't know how this would, and honestly, I appreciate that from you as a human being. I mean, when I met Kevin on The Daily Show, no one would be my first guest. People were terrified. They're like, who is this guy? We don't know what he is, we don't know what he stands for. South Africa, what is that even? Where is that? What part of Africa? South, we put in
069
people do not care.
304 4188.
Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's a superstar. He's exhausted. Kevin responded instantly, he said, I'm in.
Same fun.
He said, I'm in. And I remember asking him, I said, why? And Kevin said, because I remember what it was like to be the person that nobody wanted to give a shot. I remember what it was like to be at the bottom of this ladder. And he said, if I can, it's funny you say that, and I see why you guys get along so much. He said, if I can be a part of building your ladder, sign me up. And so I'm glad that I now have what I consider one of the best pairings as both of my firsts. Thank you so much, brother.
Well, thank you, brother, for having me on, and congratulations on an incredible career, but also a groundbreaking one, too.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, let's get you to the next $1 billion. That costs just the money. Oh, sorry. I believe that women should try crack before they die. But like, you see a perfect woman who know right before they die. I would do it in hospice. Stand, keep going out. Go out with a bag. Crack from a fucking bag.
No, I don't think crack is the best hospice drug.
Or you can choose heroin.
Yeah,
I mean, give me that. That's what I'm saying. Yo, let me ask you something. Have you seen somebody do crack and then like not be like more mobile than they were? Crack, keep drugs. That's what I'm saying. Faith no kill. So I'm saying hospice should have crack.
But these people aren't going to be healthy.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Hospice will should have a rank to it. This one is like an end stage thing. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not saying crack for the people. I'm saying crack for the people. You know, I'm saying crack when it's done. Like when you're old and done, crack when it's done. Like you know when an airplane is going down and the boss is coming to see you? There should be a little crack in the boss. That's what you do in the boss. Yeah, that's what you do in the boss. Plane goes down, crack comes out from the top and then it's like, and then you're like, man, it's not so bad. There's nothing, they'll hold the plane up themselves. Trevor Noah. So, welcome to it. It's an episode of If I Ruled the World, where myself, Josh, and Christiana think about ways that we would change the world if we had all the power. As is usual, each of us suggests our idea. Everyone votes on it. We'll get the other 2 votes on it. And if you get a majority, or if you get 2 people, then your vote is passed. So, Josh, Christiana, you want to start?
Up to you, Josh.
Christiana, you're the only person I think who's had one pass.
I know, I want to be the one.
Yeah.
And now my
I feel like that's why she offered to go first. It's like she knows mine will be bad.
Okay, Josh, you go first.
I think that if I ruled the world, everyone, every citizen of the world, after age about 22, potentially 25, would have to, at some point in the rest of their life, have at least one psychedelic experience.
Wow, have to.
You have to. And you don't have to do it at 22. I say 22 because between 22 and 25 are the years where the brain really
Waiting for the brain to settle.
because I'm not trying to offset where anyone is going to go about this, and I want everybody to be able to be themselves. But then I think that afterwards, it's probably one of the things you can save it until you're old. And
Yeah, but that's what's going to ask. What if people die before?
I mean,